Welcome to Outside View Scandals. Today we're diving deep into one of Scotland's most infamous figures, King Robert the Bruce. Now, if you think medieval politics was just a bunch of nobles sitting around having a polite chat over tea, let me stop you right there. Robert the Bruce, the man we are talking about today, wasn't exactly the poster boy for chivalry. His rise to power? It's the stuff of scandal, betrayal, and, well, let's just say a few conveniently dead rivals. Bruce's rebellion against the English crown wasn't just a noble fight for Scottish independence. It was a brutal chess game with heads literally rolling. So let's start with a bit of context. We're in the early 14th century and Scotland is under the thumb of Edward I of England, also known as Longshanks, a nickname which, I assure you, did not refer to his sparkling personality. The Scottish throne was vacant after the death of Alexander III, and Edward I had decided he'd play kingmaker. Enter Robert the Bruce, a man with ambitions far bigger than his title of Earl of Carrick. But it wasn't just Bruce trying to claim the Scottish crown. Oh no, the competition was fierce, and by fierce I mean deadly. Bruce's biggest rival was John Comyn, known as Red Comyn, who, spoiler alert, would eventually be known as the Late Comyn. In 1306, Bruce met Comyn in a church, yes, a church, to discuss, shall we say, the future of Scotland. And by discuss, I mean Bruce stabbed him to death in front of the altar. I mean, nothing says I'm serious about this crown like murder in a holy place. It was a bold move to say the least, but hey, medieval power struggles weren't exactly known for their subtlety. Of course, Bruce's little church incident didn't exactly go unnoticed. Murder in a church was frowned upon even in the 1300s. But instead of groveling for forgiveness or fleeing in shame, Bruce did the only logical thing. He declared himself King of Scotland, because apparently after committing sacrilege, the next step is just to claim a throne. Naturally, the English weren't thrilled about this. Edward I, not one to shy away from a fight or from burning down entire towns, immediately launched a campaign to crush Bruce's rebellion. And crush it he did, at first at least. Bruce's coronation in 1306 didn't exactly mark the beginning of a glorious reign. It marked the start of years of guerrilla warfare, exile, and for Bruce, a series of humiliating defeats. But Bruce was persistent, if nothing else. And maybe just a little bit lucky as well. Edward I, Bruce's greatest adversary, died in 1307 before he could finish the job of putting Bruce in his place. And his son Edward II inherited the throne, and let's just say he didn't quite have his father's enthusiasm for medieval conquest. This gave Bruce some breathing room, and by breathing room I mean he took advantage of Edward II's incompetence to gather his forces and strike back. Over the next few years, Bruce fought a series of brutal campaigns, slowly regaining control over Scotland. His most famous victory came in 1314 at the Battle of Bannockburn, where his much smaller force handed the English one of their most embarrassing defeats. Bannockburn wasn't just a military triumph, it was a PR coup. Bruce went from murderous rebel to national hero practically overnight. Funny how that works, right? And let's not forget, this wasn't just a personal vendetta for Bruce. He wrapped himself in the banner of Scottish independence, using it to legitimize his rule. What better way to win over a kingdom than to promise freedom from English rule? Of course, Bruce's reign wasn't all glory and victory. There was still plenty of bloodshed and political maneuvering. He spent years consolidating power, eliminating rivals, and securing his claim to the throne. But by the time of his death in 1329, Robert the Bruce had firmly established himself as King of Scots, leaving behind a legacy that would define Scotland's history for generations. Now, you might be thinking, surely his rise to power was justified given the times. And maybe that's true. But let's not forget the scandal. the rebellion, the assassinations, the church murder, which, by the way, the Pope wasn't too thrilled about either. In the end, Bruce's rise to power was as much about ruthlessness as it was about heroism. He wasn't just a freedom fighter. He was a king who understood that in medieval politics, sometimes the crown goes to the one willing to get their hands the dirtiest. And really, isn't that the most medieval scandal of all? So thanks for tuning in to Outside View Scandals once again. And if you liked today's episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And remember, history might be written by the victors, but the scandals, well, they get remembered by everyone else. And if you want to see another video, the next one is right here in the end screen.